I'm a bit of a philosophy geek. I spend most of my time reading books, studying, meditating, and doing weird esoteric practices, which are actually not that weird. I mean, yoga, tai chi, qigong, things like that, to connect to myself and go inside myself as much as possible. I abide by the maxim to know thyself and that a life that is unexamined is not worth living. Actually, it is worth living. I don't agree with that part, but I think examining your life is really worthwhile. And so I spend a lot of time doing that. And part of that involves reading and learning and studying all the different traditions of the world, both popular and indigenous, and pretty much everything in between that I can find. And today I decided to start reading the Book of Enoch. And honestly, I've never read the Bible, cover to cover. I think at this point I've come across a lot of the passages, I can piece it together, but I think that even if I did read it, it wouldn't really change much. And from what I heard about the Book of Enoch, I kind of had high hopes that it would be maybe something of a different vein, but I was sorely disappointed. I mean, what a piece of shit that book is. And I'm not even afraid of saying this. Like, I can't understand what kind of psychological processes you need to adhere to actually fervently believe in any of the Abrahamic religions as they're written, especially the Old Testament. And I mean, I didn't even get through the whole Book of Enoch. I couldn't stomach it. It was just disgusting. Um, and like, yeah, I have personal preferences. I'm into Taoism, Buddhism, really, and any indigenous religion. And I love the core message of Christianity, which transmitted through Jesus, which is love, basically love and compassion for all, and the golden rule, which is basic common sense. But even the first, part of the Book of Enoch is absolute insanity. It's the same as the Old Testament. I don't understand. Yeah, it has giants and more perhaps on our history, but I think that shit is just as corrupt as the regular old Bible. Why would anyone read that? It is so quick. I don't get it. First of all the passages that do have like seeds and nuggets of gold are all cryptic, and they're so far and few in between, like just utter judgmental garbage. Like the Book of Enoch is like, I, the only Enoch ordained by God, and these few should be cast out and punished and burned forever in hell with no return. And these ungodly sinners that partake of witchcraft, which like essentially witchcraft, like the Book of Enoch is like learning about herbs, like herbs is everything. Like it's just the same old censored insanity of not knowing thyself. It's like it goes completely against like any nature religion. Like in the East, like you take Buddhism or Taoism and you compare it to the Book of Enoch or the Bible, it's like it's so completely different. It's ridiculous. In Taoism, for instance, it's like the nature, the workings of nature. So to know nature, you would have to be intimately related to nature, and that's what all the Abrahamic religions, and the Book of Enoch is no exception, is incapable of doing. It lives like in some kind of fucking fantasy world where there's these angels who abide by their own rules, and they come down to Earth, and Earth is like this place of sin. So like just being human and like reproducing is considered a sin, and just like knowing the foliage is a sin, and everything imaginable that's actually normal is a sin. So man constantly lives in fear and guilt and embarrassment and shame, and that's kind of the pervasive and fear, obviously fear, and that's kind of the climate, the culture we still live in today. And so I had high hopes for the Book of Enoch. I thought it was going to be something of a different, like kind of, the tablets of Thoth, or from supposedly Thoth the Atlantean, were, very, very minimally condemning and more like informative. So it's like I couldn't stomach the Book of Enoch because I didn't learn anything. Like I went through the first part, and I'm like, how long has it been? I haven't learned a goddamn thing at all. At all. It's just Enoch fucking talking about you can and cannot do. You do this. You fucking these people did that, and these are the fucking holy chosen ones. Like that's quote unquote classic religious dogma where you don't learn a fucking thing, but you sure are like very fearful, and you know what you have to do, but you absolutely cannot do for fear of damnation for all eternity in some kind of supposed hell. That's the actual problem with all the Abrahamic religions. And so, you see, even today, I can't say I have anything against Christianity, but I have to say it really is. It's not a complete. It's not a way of life. Like, how can you go through life living by a system of commandments and be free? You can't. Even psychologically, you can't be free because you will never know yourself. First of all, you're going to repress your dark side because everyone is equal. Everyone has a shadow, a dark side, and Christianity has that fucking faculty of making you scared of examining your dark side, so you can't fucking own it. Now, in a sense, like Carl Jung discovered, there is a positive side to Christianity, but you have to own it. You have to own your own version of Christianity. And the Gnostics and the mystics were able to do this, but they were all condemned. None of them were revered by the church or any of the popular books, right? The books are all about what this and that, and it's like I just don't understand. It's such a Stone Age way of thinking. I guess maybe it's a matter of personal preference. For me, it does not resonate at all. And in fact, I didn't learn anything from it. That's what I was hoping. I hoping maybe I could add something to philosophically, so I can juggle these ideas and maybe make something out of it as a positive. But it was nothing. It was like literally a fairy tale, but it wasn't even pleasant to read. It just made it was like, oh, this is gross. And it doesn't even make sense. Like, even if this is true on some level, well, if it is, first of all, I mean, may God have mercy on our souls if any of it is true. I mean, it could be that there was these stories, there were these other races and things like that. But the point is that we are spiritual beings, and there are ways of connecting to our divine natures. And that kind of philosophy doesn't help us. In fact, I think it is a method of oppression. Like, it is plain in sight for me that Christianity was truncated, was really used as a method of controlling the people, the population. That's obviously what it was used for, because anyone who reads it will understand this. And even if you follow these teachings of Jesus, the core message is really about love, forgiveness, and compassion, which really invalidates the whole rest of the fucking Bible, if you think about it. So that's the thing, is that the Abrahamic religions are of a political view of spirituality and of man and of nature versus an organic view. And that's why it's so fucked up. That's why the civilization is so fucked up. The Romans took that fucking philosophy, fucking injected it into the populations, and to this day we're all still really very much fucked up, carrying over, repressed, sexually repressed, afraid, very guilty, very ashamed, very embarrassed. No one really knows why. We kind of like, we're running around kind of like we're covered because we're like, oh shit, am I gonna get whipped? Am I allowed to? It's like we don't have the freedom to think and to feel and to really be free. That's the same sort of philosophy that our government carries over, and that's how our government controls us. It is that it instills fear in us. Okay, our government is not liberative. Our government doesn't fulfill its duty of helping man. It oppresses man, and we know this. Everybody knows this, but everybody's too fucking afraid to do anything about it. Not true. A lot of people are doing a lot of stuff about it. We are actually very much more informed than we ever were before, and it's only a question of as to what will be the outcome of all this in this sort of day and age. But the point is to know thyself. Know thyself. How the fuck are you going to know yourself when somebody tells you and gives you a list of things you can and cannot do? That's not even an avenue of exploration. That's just a restrictive model for not using your exploratory equipment, your faculties of your senses correctly. So fuck that shit. I mean, honestly, like I with all due respect, like it's, oh, you must respect all the religions because all the religions, that's true, they have it as a core message, but their core is fundamentally very different. Like take Buddhism, for example. Some of it is dogmatic. Like just like any organized, the moment you have any organized religion, it becomes dogma, period. I don't care how good it is. I don't care where it's from. Even Buddhism suffered from this. But there are beautiful aspects of Buddhism. For instance, Buddhism is the science of the mind, and it is, just like Taoism, fundamentally atheistic. It doesn't matter whether there is or isn't a personal God. That's not really relevant. What's relevant is the science of the mind, is how do you use your mind, how is your mind related to your emotions, to your body. And in Taoism, for instance, the 8 energy bodies are physical, mental, emotional, psychic, body, the karmic, the essence, and Tao. So you have basically the energy of the universe that you can explore, and you are the microcosm that is associated intimately with the macrocosm, and that is basically life. It's not like you are fucking an alien on the planet and you must abide or you will be punished. It's essentially the message, and it's so not conducive to anything whatsoever. So if you don't want to believe it, don't believe it. I say it's a bunch of junk. Anyway, Okay, and really, you should make up your own mind as to what you think about it. Remember, the only authority anything ever has is the authority you give it. If you don't want to give it any authority, you don't have to. Make up your own mind. Think for yourself. Question authority. Always. Thank you.